Hello, eager Spanish students. I am here to teach you, I'm giving you a Spanish tutorial on how to use indirect object pronouns and direct object pronouns. So the purpose of indirect and direct object pronouns are to place a simpler version of a word in a different place in a sentence that essentially expedites the process of saying the sentence. So for example, in English, when you have a sentence like, I gave her the flowers. Essentially what you did was you took the word her and placed it in a sentence where normally you would have somebody's name. So for example, this sentence, the first sentence here, is a faster way of saying I gave the flowers to Anna. So essentially what we did was we took our indirect object, I'll explain what that is in a second, Anna, and we took another word, her, and we replaced Anna with her and put it in right directly after the verb of the sentence. So you can do the exact same thing with the direct object of the sentence, which would be the flowers. Essentially the difference between a direct object and an indirect object is that a direct object is what the verb is occurring on or upon or to. For example, what's being given is the flowers. The recipient, or the person whom the verb affects, is Anna. She's the indirect object. So, if I were to rewrite this sentence in Spanish, it would be yo di las flores a Ana. So, essentially, in the sentence we have yo, which is the subject, whatever is doing the verb. We have di, the verb. Dar is the verb to give in Spanish, and this is the yo form in the preterite. I gave. The flowers. This is the direct object. The flowers are what are being given. So, we've got the direct object, the verb, and the subject. And then, Anna is the indirect object. She's the recipient of the flowers. The flowers are being given directly. Anna is receiving them indirectly through the action of giving the flowers. So, in English, what we do is we take these nouns, the direct object and the indirect object, and we replace them with words called direct or indirect object pronouns. Pronouns are shorter words that stand for either the subject of a sentence or the object of a sentence, either the direct or indirect object. So, same thing here. The subject, this yo, is a subject pronoun for I. If I had she gave the flowers to Anna, then she is a direct object pronoun, or is a subject pronoun for the name of a woman or a girl. So, in English, what we do is we use direct object pronouns me, you, she, he, it, us, you all, and they. Them, I apologize, them. Now, in English we use the same pronouns for both indirect and direct object pronouns. But in Spanish, we use the pronouns me, te, lo, or la, nos, os, and los or las. These are our direct object pronouns, or dops. Our indirect object pronouns, or I-dops, are essentially the same except for here, our third person pronouns. So it's still me, te, and now instead of our masculine and feminine lo or la for the direct object pronoun, we have an indirect object pronoun le. That's unisex. And then we have, again, nos, os, and we replace that los or las with les. So, in Spanish, if I were going to say yo di las flores Ana, I could replace the words Las Flores and Ana with their respective pronouns. Las Flores is our direct object. Ana is our indirect object. So we use our direct object pronoun that corresponds to Las Flores. Well, flores are flowers are objects and they're feminine. So we'd use the direct object pronoun las. And Ana is a girl. She's the recipient of the flowers, she's the indirect object. So we look at our indirect object pronoun, and for a third person object we have lay. Singular third person object. Lay. So the way we organize this, essentially, before I go over the rules of placing the object pronouns in a sentence, yo di las flores Ana would then become yo, and what we do is we take our direct object pronoun, our indirect object pronoun, we place it before the verb. The indirect object pronoun comes first, so we would normally have yo lay, las, and Las Flores is standing for Las Flores. Yo lay las di. So this is a faster way to say yo di las flores a Ana. But this is a special scenario because when you have two object pronouns that start with L, the indirect object pronoun, the L changes to an S. Yo se las di. If it had been I give the flowers to you, and this had been a te, then it would stay yo te las di. But because both of the object pronouns start with an L, we convert the first L to an S, and you have yo se las di. Now, every time you convert objects, direct or indirect, to pronouns, object pronouns, they always go in front of the verb, with a few exceptions. If you have an unconjugated verb, like, let's say I had the sentence yo quiero tener las flores. I want to have the flowers. If I changed this to adopt, because these las flores are the direct object, if I change that to las, I can still place las directly in front of the unconjugated verb, quiero. Yo las quiero tener. This in English is translated to I want to have them, as opposed to I want to have the flowers. I want to have them. But whenever you have an unconjugated verb, like tener, you can attach your direct object pronoun or indirect object pronoun, in this case we only have a direct object pronoun, to the end of the unconjugated verb. So this could also, this is option 1. Option 2 would be yo quiero tener las. In this case, for me this is a little bit simpler because the syntax is the same in Spanish as it is in English. I want to have